In the second part of our introduction to the 3D software of the ImageWorks Xera CBCT, I wanted to walk through the workflow for placing an implant. To get to the Implant Planning tab, simply click on the CPR tab, which is short for Curved Planar Reconstruction. When you come to this tab, you'll notice the axial view on the top left and the other window panes are blank. The first step in the process is to trace the arch of the patient. You can manipulate vertically up or down in the axial view to get to the proper horizontal slice, and then you would hold the control button down and then click along the arch to trace the arch of the patient. As you trace that arch, you'll notice the slice of the arch laid out flat in the bottom left. Some refer to this as a false pano. One additional point about navigation, you can zoom into any window view simply by pushing down on the roller ball of your mouse and dragging the mouse upward. You'll also notice the cross-sectional view to the right. Migrating through the arch in this cross-sectional view is just as simple as rolling the roller ball on your mouse. You'll notice in this false pano that certain anatomy may not be as visible. This is because the default setting for the slice thickness of that arch slice is set to be very thin. Therefore, certain anatomy may not show up in that slice. This can easily be configured and adjusted by adjusting the slice thickness. If we make this thicker, it's actually going to look more like what you would consider to be a traditional pano. You also have the ability to adjust this false pano either facially or lingually simply by rotating the roller ball on your mouse. An additional note about configuring the view of the cross-sectional view, some dental professionals prefer to see a framed view showing many slices along the arch. This can also be easily configured depending on how many slices you would like to see. In addition, making adjustments to the view in any one of those frames, perhaps zooming in, will make the same adjustment to all the frames. So now let's place an implant. You'll notice to the far right of the screen, there is a pull tab. If you click on this, this will pull out the implant planning toolbox. You'll notice in the top left, two tabs, one for the implant and one for tracing the mandibular canal. Simply click on the mandibular canal tab and then click New. You can trace the mandibular canal from any of the different views. In this case, we'll do it in the panoramic view in the bottom left. To do this effectively, sometimes it helps to change the slice thickness back to the very thin slice so that it maximizes the view of that mandibular canal. Now, to trace that mandibular canal, it's just as simple as holding the control key down while you click along the canal. This can be done in any of the different views. We're showing it here in the panoramic view. It could also be done in the cross-sectional view or even back in the MPR tab. Now we're ready to place the implant. We go back to our Pull tab on the side of the screen and click on the Implant sub-tab in the top left. And we click to open a new implant. This will open the implant window. There's a lot of capability within this window, but the most common workflow is simply to refer to the implant library. To access the implant library, simply click on the Custom sub-tab. The implant library on your system will be very extensive with all the major manufacturers. In this specific example, we just have a sample implant loaded and we'll just use this. Click the Add button to insert the implant. With the implant placed, now it's just a matter of using your mouse to drag the implant to the proper location and adjusting the angle of placement. As a reminder on navigation, if I want to see that implant placement in the cross-sectional view, I simply hover my mouse over the cross-sectional view, roll the roller ball, and you can see the vertical red line moving to the patient's right until I see both the cross-section of the implant I just placed as well as the mandibular canal. One additional note, if you prefer, you can also adjust the angle of that cross-sectional view by rotating the vertical red line in the panoramic view. As you can see, this slightly adjusts the cross-sectional view so that it's more aligned with the axis of the implant. Now that you have this implant plan, you can do many things with it. You can send the DICOM files to a lab to have surgical guides printed. You could send the volume and the plan to colleagues for them to review. But one other often underestimated value of the cone beam is for the purposes of communication. An example of this is you can go back to the MPR tab, and the implant plan is now marked in your volume, and you can do some really nice cross-sectional views in the 3D volume that can be very useful in sitting and chatting with a patient. You can show the patient in a way that they can visualize and they can understand, to show why you're recommending the plan that you're recommending. And in many cases, we've heard from so many of our customers that this can dramatically improve patient acceptance rates. We hope you found this useful. If you have any questions or would like to speak with a specialist, don't hesitate to give us a call.